What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another discussion video. Today we're taking a look at if Nintendo can compete with the next gen powerhouses coming from Sony and also Microsoft. We're starting to hear a lot of rumors and also confirmed information when it comes to the PlayStation 5 about what the next gen plans are for the big three, and it's looking pretty good so far for Sony. They talked about the SSD, they talked about 8K graphics, they talked about all sorts of cool stuff. There was a lot of fluff in between there when it comes to it, some loading time stuff and everything, but overall it seems like the PlayStation 5 and also the next Xbox are going to be powerful systems, and a lot of people are wondering, looking at the Nintendo Switch, if they're going to be able to compete in 2020 and beyond. So I thought that I'd make a video about this because this is one of my most requested or asked questions whenever we talk about what Nintendo's doing next with the Nintendo Switch Pro, Nintendo Switch Mini, all of that. So let's go ahead and get into this right here, guys. We all know the next gen systems are coming, but how is Nintendo going to be able to compete with the power that Microsoft and Sony are going to bring to the table? Well, I'll kind of think about it this way, guys. They're going to do it just like they've done it before in the past. Nintendo going the weaker route has been something they've been doing for the past, what, decade plus? Could they make a super strong console that competes with them? Yeah, probably they could when it comes to power, but that's not Nintendo's forte anymore. That's not what they're trying to do. They're looking at profits. They're making sure that they can make an affordable system that's going to provide a lot of great games for people to play at a good price as well. So let's go ahead and look at a couple different things that I've laid out here, how Nintendo competes with Microsoft and Sony's next gen systems. So the biggest thing here that they need to do in terms of competing is cartridge sizes and prices need to be increased and reduced respectively. So cartridge sizes, yes, those need to go up. By the time that the next PlayStation and Xbox come out, there should be 64 gigabyte cartridges that are available at a good price. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to happen as fast as possible because it looks like the next PlayStation and Xbox are coming 2020 and we're still having some issues with 32 gigabyte cartridges, but I would think within the next 2 years or so, we're going to be able to get 64 gigabyte cartridges at a good price. I think 2 years is plenty of time for Nintendo to reduce those prices with the cartridges and also increase the size as well. I think 32 gigabyte cartridges could become a lot more affordable by early next year, and then probably within the next 2 years or so we can have that, and then probably by Nintendo's next gen system, which we'll talk about at the end here, they will have decent cartridge sizes. So within the next, I would say probably 3 or 4 years, they would have decent cartridge sizes for a very good price because the tech, because this is new tech with the cartridge sizes and all that, the tech is completely locked down and they're ready to go with that. But yeah, the cartridge sizes definitely need to be increased and the price needs to be reduced. So Nintendo needs to work on that as soon as possible. And I'm pretty sure that they are working to make the parts cheaper, manufacturing, getting more solid supply lines and everything. All of that needs to be straightened out. It's good that the Switch came out at the time that it did towards the tail end here because it does give them some time to continue and get that process going with it. So by the time they have their next system, everything is all good there. Now let's talk about the next thing here, and probably the most functional thing here is the consistent flow of games. First party, high quality games, it can't stop. You can't have what we recently talked about with the Wii U and having some droughts, having just games not coming out. There needs to be a consistent flow of games, whether that's indie games, great first party titles, third party games sprinkled in there, ports, whatever the case is. That's the biggest key for Nintendo right now with the Switch and how it's competing with systems that are far more powerful and actually even cheaper than the Nintendo Switch. It's because it has a consistent flow of games. It's because you can play the system anywhere that you want, the functionality built in, and that there's just always titles coming out. Whether you like indie games or not, there's always something new, whether it's Steam World Quest, whether it's Minecraft, whether it's any other type of games, small and big alike, there's always a constant flow of games coming out, and I like that. And I like the fact that there's always ports coming to the system, so people who didn't pick up the game or didn't have a Wii U or didn't have X or Y system can be able to play that system, because every single year there's a new gamer that comes into the fray. Every single few years there's new gamers that were only 9 and are now older and can play these type of games. So you're always getting new gamers that didn't have a chance to play X or Y game, so it's good to bring those games back in any way that you can, and that's why you see that. And I honestly, I feel that a lot of the ports being brought over to fill in the gaps between big Nintendo releases is the reason why the system is doing so well with the constant flow of games. So that's also another very big thing. Another thing here that Nintendo definitely needs to do is big surprises and resurrections of forgotten IPs or dormant IPs. This is something that they've been kind of doing a little bit. I mean, we're seeing it, right? Bayonetta, they brought that back with the Wii U. Now they're bringing Bayonetta 3. They already got Bayonetta 1 and 2 on the Nintendo Switch, but I'd like to see it a little bit more. Now they're doing okay with some new IPs. We have ARMS, we have Astral Chain. These are things that are really helping out the Nintendo Switch, but I'd like to see some more dormant IPs brought back. For example, Kid Icarus Uprising, that was brought back to Nintendo 3DS, brought some life back into the system along with some of the other games. I think it's time to kind of bring back some of those other games. Maybe another Kid Icarus on the Nintendo Switch, because it's been a while since the last one. Maybe a Star Tropics, or maybe one of the other dormant IPs Nintendo has. Nintendo has so many different games that they can bring back. F-Zero as well, Mother or Earthbound. There's just so many different things that Nintendo can do and they can bring back, and I think that's going to help bring the hype and momentum heading into the next gen. It's like, okay, well, they have these systems here. Oh, but you know what? F-Zero's coming back. You know, that's going to bring a lot of hype, and that's going to bring a lot of people to check out what the Nintendo Switch has to offer if they can bring back that. Stuff like Golden Sun. I think these are all keys and key factors to Nintendo continuing momentum even when the next gen systems come out and we've already had like a bunch of Zelda games and Mario games and all of that. That really does help out with things, guys, when you can bring back key franchises like that. Heck, look at the splash that Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 has kind of generated just by them bringing that back, and that's a third-party franchise. So imagine if Nintendo did it with some of the franchises that we just talked about. I think that could really help out too. Now, another thing here, guys, is that the price and value needs to be there with the next Nintendo Switch and the Pro or the Mini or the next gen system that they're doing. Value is always going to be something that consumers look at. You can sit here and boast power all day if you want to, but at the end of the day, the Xbox One X is not selling better than the PlayStation 4 base or the Nintendo Switch. So it's the most powerful system out there, but yet it's selling the least amount when it comes to it. So it's not all about power, power, power. You have to have value, and that's how Nintendo's going to compete at this point, and I think going forward as well. I think there's going to be a cheaper Switch out there that's going to be $200 or something like that, and that is going to be a very powerful thing in the industry, because you're going to be able to play all of these great first-party games on a $200 system. We saw what that did for the Nintendo 3DS, right? When they had the 2DS XL, that $129 system, sales exploded. And the only reason why sales are kind of going down at this point, one, because of the age of the system, but also two, because Nintendo's not making new games for the system at all. And pretty much all the focus is shifted over to the Switch. Imagine when they get that Switch to that price at some point, right? When they can get like a Switch Mini to like $150. That's going to be in the next few years, and the next gen systems are going to be out. A lot of parents and just people in general are going to be like, wait a minute here, I can play like Super Mario Odyssey and Legend of Zelda, all these different games coming out on this Switch for like $150 to $200. Now that's going to be something that people are going to want to pick up, just like they did with the Nintendo 3DS and how that continued to sell as well. And going forward, like with the Switch Pro and everything like that, if there is a Switch Pro, and with the next gen Nintendo system, having it priced underneath what these next systems are doing are going to be key as well. If you're saving $50, $100, whatever the case is, plus you have all the software that's going to be from Nintendo first party, and get some of that third party support, especially from Japanese developers, which we'll talk about in the last phase here. I think that's going to be a big way that they can compete going forward as well. And the final thing here that we're going to talk about is solid plans for the next Nintendo Switch, and for it to be a substantial bump over what we've gotten now at this point. So that's one thing that's really big here, guys. Nintendo obviously is making plans for their next system and how they're going to be able to incorporate that into the ecosystem of what they've already got, with a Switch Mini maybe coming out, maybe a Switch Pro, the standard Switch, whatever the case is. But I think that it has to be a substantial bump over what we've got, combined with that excellent support and the Japanese third-party support coming in from the very beginning. I think that's going to be very key, because if you're looking at the PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox, are those going to have all the Japanese support at the very beginning? I don't know. It took a while for Capcom, for Bandai Namco, and for all these Japanese developers to really put out the big hitters on the PS4 and the Xbox One. A lot of the best games from Japanese developers came out 3 to 4 years after the launch of the PlayStation 4 and the next Xbox. Are they going to be so quick to jump on the next boat here? I'm not so sure about that, especially with these systems being rumored and with the PlayStation 5 to be backwards compatible. I think a lot of them are just going to say, it looks like we're going to be developing PS4 games for a bit longer. There's definitely going to be some overlap there. So I think that solid plans for the next gen, incorporating the Japanese developers from day one, so you just don't have Koei Tecmo on board, or you just don't launch with Legend of Zelda and that's it. So making sure that you have those developers on board, and you have that big Legend of Zelda game at launch, and you have that big game that really showcases the bump in what you're doing from the previous Switch and this brand new Switch, build quality, features, whatever the case is. All of that needs to play. Now, if you factor in all these different things here, when we're talking about cartridge sizes, constant flow of games, price and value, solid plans, incorporating the Japanese developers and making sure that they're into the fray, getting some of that third-party Western support like they did with the Nintendo Switch with Doom and Wolfenstein and Skyrim and that, I feel Nintendo's going to be able to easily compete next gen with Microsoft and Sony, Stadia, or whoever else wants to jump into the fray, because they have a solid plan that worked with the Switch, and I think they can even make that better by optimizing all these different things here. Now that they know what they want to do, and the Switch and being able to play anywhere that you want is one of the keys of the system and keys of Nintendo, the identity going forward, no longer splitting it up, right, like 3DS and the Wii U. So those are my thoughts on the matter. What are you guys' thoughts when it comes to it in terms of what Nintendo can do? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for this RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.